Welcome, guys, to week 6 of the Tower Dive, second episode. I got a bunch of amazing guests with me again today. I got J Rod from EG Support. I have Gimpy the First, which is the active rush jungler. I got Amari, I'm just going to say that part of your name because I don't know the rest, support of AOL. And Escom, the 80 carry for Classic Esports. There we go, I got it. The Prophet, starting mid laner for EG. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's a
How
pleasure.
No problem.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Same.
So I'm going to go ahead and just get right into the questions. I'll go ahead and call out your order. Just when you get called, just give me your response, all right? So in the Gold Plat series, there are top teams losing to bottom teams, and bottom teams winning versus the top teams. Are these games just flukes, or are the teams actually that close in skill? I'm going to go ahead and start with Gimpy.
All right. So I think it's a really interesting question. Something that I've talked about a little bit this season, but I was very adamant about last season when I played on Conqueror Gaming, is that in best of ones, anything can happen. A top tier team can just have a really bad game, and a bottom tier game could have a really great game. So a lot of the time you do sometimes see some upsets. But on that note, I do think that competitively there are a lot of teams that aren't the worst, and when they bring their A game, they can really show up versus some of the other top teams. However, I do think that they struggle to bring their A game, struggle to be organized, struggle to have everyone there from time to time. So seeing these wins and some people losing, it's not that surprising to me. But yeah, the teams are, I think, closer than they have been in past seasons. But, you know, keep working hard, keep practicing, and I think just about any team could win.
So that was a very long-winded answer to saying that the teams are pretty close in skill.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go to J-Rod.
I have to agree. I think that teams are definitely close this season. Like, you can just tell by the standings that everyone's within like a game or two really for playoffs. And that even like the top tier teams, we're gold platinum players. We're not professionals. We're going to make mistakes. You can take advantage of those mistakes. So like any team can be anyone at any given day in best of ones. I think when we get to playoffs and get some more bigger series, you'll see the better teams really separate themselves from the pack.
Okay. Amari, how about you?
I agree with both Gimpy and J-Rod. I think that every team can basically win against each other. I've heard that some teams say that they've won or lost due to flukes, but I think that like if these teams are close to each other, it comes down to planning, champ select, their decision making in game. Basically, how you plan out and like play League of Legends is gonna determine who wins.
Okay, so you kind of concur with the other two as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Escom, your turn.
So my thing about it is it's only flukes if it's a one-time thing. It's really consistency is where you see the better team. So if it's like a one-off for a bottom team beats a top team, and then they just go back to being a bottom team, then that's a fluke. But if you see them start pulling wins 3-4 in a row, get on winning streaks, then they're just a good team. So this being my first time in this league, to me, I think the teams are pretty close to each other from what I've experienced at least. And like I said, in best of ones, it's about the team who makes the least amount of mistakes. There isn't a game two to go and like fix those mistakes. So, and the better team's always just going to capitalize on mistakes. So I'm going to have to say that I think the teams are just closer together.
Definitely coming from the 80 carry of one of the bottom teams that just beat the top one of the top teams. I think that's definitely what you would like to say is you guys are definitely up there, right?
Yeah, I think after this last week, I know we're in the playoff. I think we're tied for 5th now. I would like to say. I have to look at the standings. I know since last week we went from 10th to 5th in 2 weeks, so
Yeah. Assuming Cool Friends beats Third World in the remake there, there's a 4-way tie for 5th. But other than that, yeah, there's a 4-way tie for 5th.
Yeah, okay. Well, Prophet, you round us out?
So overall, I think the two biggest upsets that we did see this week were obviously Classic over Guardian and then Classic over Amumus as well. Coming into this week, we thought we had a real, defined top 3 or whatever with Active Rush, Guardian, and Amumus. I was never really sold on Amumus. I think they haven't looked the best overall. But overall, going as far as the upsets go, I think teams are pretty even. It's hard to really say that Classic over Guardian was a true upset, considering, say what you will about Trinox, he can be a character at times, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's integral to what Guardian does in their games. Without him, Guardian is a much worse team, in my opinion. But overall, like, we're going to see, like, throughout the standings, other than the top 2 slots, whenever Trinox does return, obviously it's very even across the board. I feel like we're going to see a lot of teams really start to define themselves. Obviously, Classic is on the rise. A couple other teams that are on the rise right now, if they can continue to win, I feel like they can set themselves above the pack. I definitely feel like we're going to see these standings hopefully start to solidify out come these next couple weeks. So,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as my thoughts go, I definitely think the teams are close. I mean, we only lost one game, luckily. We definitely had some semi-close games, mostly because the way and this comes from Active Rush speaking, we've picked usually scaling comps and stuff, so we generally do have poor early games. But I do think every team, like, I'm not going in really any matchup thinking that we are just going to cleanly take the game without any issues. So definitely think any team can win every matchup, as I've kind of stated last week as well. So I'm not going to harp too much on that topic. Let's go ahead and move on to the second question. We are now past the halfway point in the season. Are there any clear leads in the BSG or GP leagues? Like, is there any clear you think maybe most likely going to win, or like somebody you would, if you were a betting man, you'd put your money on? Just go ahead and pick one team from each league, and we'll go ahead and start with Gimpy again.
That's rough. I think, especially after we all were saying last week, everyone, or the last question, everyone was pretty close. Yeah, I think I'm going to start with IBSG. AOL has been dominating. After the first week, they didn't have the best performance, I do believe. But since then, they've won, I think, 8 games straight in a row. So they've been showing that they can win games, especially once they got their roster back together. And I think that if they put themselves in a position to win, like if they're ahead, they do seem to know how to cleanly end games for the most part, compared to some other top tier teams who I've seen kind of have leads and then throw them and barely win games. And yeah, I think AOL's been playing the cleanest so far, and I really like that. So I'm going to give it to them for the IBG or IBSG CS. And we're going to go to the GPCS. Oh, this one's tougher. I just gotta say, Active Rush. I'm on the team, and if I didn't, Rutledge would probably beat me. So we're in first right now, and our only loss was against GG in a bit of an interesting game. I wasn't there, so I'm gonna blame it on that. But yeah, I think like we said earlier, the competition is very close. So Active Rush, but just by a little bit.
Okay, I think those are probably the two. Going to be the most common picked, but we'll see how everybody else has an opinion. Let's go ahead and go to we'll go ahead and you this time, Prophet.
So overall, I feel like IBSG, I think it's very clear decision for me. I think AOL is going to win, at least so strongly into finals without any contention, at least from my view of things. I think Savoys is decent. I don't think they're on the same level as AOL right now, though. And going over to GPCS, it's hard to say. It's going to be really telling to see how Guardian does go back to playing whenever Shrinox does get back. Obviously, they'll lose a little bit of ground. But overall, I think Guardian should probably still be another top-tier team. Active Rush still a top-tier team. I think that's your two big teams that you are going to see as far as predictions for GPCS go. But, however, we're dropping the ego on the table. It's going all over it. I'm picking EG to win the finals. So there you go.
What are you laughing at, Gimpy? That's a completely legit bet. I'm sure they would be the favorites.
Yeah,
no, we absolutely are. I don't know what you mean. We're going Active Rush in the finals. That's my prediction. EG over Active Rush.
Man, that's an interesting take, man. We maybe gotta get a poll on that one for the whole league to vote on. Let's go ahead and move on to Omari. Let's go ahead and see who your top teams are.
I feel as if the top teams for IBSG are AOL, Sad Boys, and EXE. They seem to be like really strong teams. Except like you said, some of them have pretty doubtful games. But I feel like there are a few dark horses at the bottom of the standings. I feel like AOL is like really strong though. I feel like we may be the strongest team in terms of macro. As long as we can find a single lead in the game or something decent, we could possibly close the game immediately. But I feel like there's a few dark horses like Nevermore that I'm looking out for after they've changed their roster. I feel as if Sad Boys is probably going to be like the most scary matchup for me, and the EXE gave us a really tough game. For Gold Plat, though, I think, I mean, Rutledge is here in the call, so I'm going to go with Active Ice.
Man, you guys are all scared of me apparently.
Yeah, dude, you're really intimidating.
Jesus.
I respect it, man. Thanks for. I guess that's a good thing. I guess that's a compliment. I'll take
Yeah,
it.
it is.
All right, thanks, man. Okay, J Rod, how about you?
So I don't watch the silver gold plat, whatever. Silver gold iron league, so I can't comment on that. But
I'm gonna force you to take. So if I was putting your life on the line, man, you had to go with your gut feeling. Who is gonna be that number one team at the end? Just give me
the team
a
that's
guess.
number one right now. AOL. Let me follow
Fair
the
enough,
trend.
man.
There.
I respect it.
So to the gold plat league though, for regular season, I think that you guys are gonna finish out number one. I think at this point, other than GG, no one really has too big of a shot to really come back. I think you guys are a solid team, and I don't see you guys dropping enough games for anyone to really catch you other than GG. But we're talking about finals, playoffs. I am also with Prophet, thinking that EG is going to take the whole thing.
Hell yeah, that's lovely.
Two EG players thinking EG's taking the whole thing. I got you.
I mean, we've got the inside info, so
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you guys looked good last week, so let's see if you guys can sustain that throughout the rest of the second half of the season. SCOM, so let's go ahead and hear your take.
All right, so also I don't really look at the IBSG league that much, but I do like to look at the results and stuff because I'm curious of what people pick and stuff, and I kind of like meme on that, like that kind of league a lot. So I don't really take interest in it, but I would say AOL because from what I've seen, at least in results, they seem like the most consistent team. They have the biggest winning streak, so like why wouldn't you take them?
Mm-hmm.
And then for gold plat, I'm going to make my answer and I'm going to make a bold prediction. So I think Active Rush will finish first, which isn't that big a surprise. I just think the way the first half went, they're just better than some of the lower tier teams and even the upper tier teams, and they only have one loss. I just think it's really hard for anyone to come back to really catch them unless they start making mistakes. So it's really on them. And then my bold prediction here, and this is kind of big ego biased, but Classic Esports Retro isn't going to drop a game in the second half of the season.
Damn.
It's just not going to happen, and I put $10 on it if you want. Like it won't happen.
Okay, man. I respect. I respect the
I just think, first 3 weeks, like everyone thinks we're really bad. I don't think so. It's just unfortunate. Everyone had IRL stuff to go through, so it's unfortunate. Over the last 3 weeks, we have easily looked like the best team in the league. Because all of our wins have been the most convincing over the last 3 weeks, and it hasn't been close. I'm pretty sure we have the quickest game with the highest gold lead advantage in the league, which was 25 minutes, 23k gold, and I'm pretty sure no one's even close to that. So
there's been quicker games than that.
I haven't watched all the games, so I don't know for sure. That was kind of good, but I'm pretty sure we've had the biggest gold lead.
Okay.
If I might be wrong there.
Can I take that bet?
The $10 that if we don't drop a game second, I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm just talking about the second half of the season.
I'll take that bet.
You want to take $10? All right, we put $10 on it.
All right, we're holding you boys to that.
You guys heard it here. We got a $10 bet between
Best J-Rod NA versus SCOM.
This is where we go and lose the first game next week, right?
Wait, when does Classic play EG?
Yeah, when do we play you guys?
It's not this week.
Not this
$10.
I don't think.
Well, everybody that listens to this podcast can hold you guys accountable, and we'll kind of maybe get something in Discord. We'll show you guys. But all right, so now my turn. I think in the bronze, silver, gold. Sorry, in the iron, bronze, silver, gold league, I do think AOL has they look the best recently. Now, I will say, I think it's actually between the top 3 teams, or actually there's probably a top 4. I think ARA, so my academy team, EXE, Sad Boys, and AOL are all going to be super close. And I think when we get to playoffs, that's the matches we're going to be really looking at. I think there are a couple teams that definitely can compete with those teams, but I do think there's going to be some separation, especially as, like, for instance, ARA. I know they've been, like, kind of doing a lot of practicing recently, especially even after this last week. I mean, I've literally constantly seen them in my Discord. I think they've also been maybe looking to replace one role or two. So, like, if they kind of get those places in a good spot, and based on my insider info, I think they could really be one of the top teams in that bottom division, or the lower division. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying bottom.
Because the other bottom.
Yeah. So, but if I had to pick one right now, I'd probably go with Sad Boys, actually. I think AOL and Sad Boys are going to be, like, kind of duking it out, and based on the game they played against AOL in the first half, it was super close, and really either team could have taken it. But, I mean, AOL just happened to... I think they've kind of also been abusing the Yorick a little bit. Like, I think they got a few of their wins against the top teams whenever Yorick was still kind of busted, and now he's been nerfed, so I don't know what they're going to really go to as their next top dominant champion. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know all the insider info with their team. Maybe that's not even, like, a big pick for their team, but I'm going to go with Sad Boys as of right now. And for the Gold Plat division, I'm going to say Active Rush. One, because I'm on the team, and two, because the losses we've had, feels like it's probably more in pick ban than it is skill. And even when we do get bad pick bans against some teams, we've seemed to be able to handle it anyway. So until I feel like there's a team that I think can test us in a best of 3, I think any of these teams can beat us in a best of 1. But I think if we have 3 games, I think that's when it's going to be insanely hard to beat us. And I think even if teams figure out maybe what our comfort picks are, there's just so many of them based on my insider knowledge of what our team picks, I think it's going to be really hard. But I'm loving the challenge. I do think a lot of the teams are relatively close. I'm not saying we're leaps and bounds better than all the other teams, but I do think we have a nice little lead so far. And we just got to stir up some things to pick ban, and I think we'll be looking good. But, again, that's a little bit of confidence from me as well. Everybody kind of picked their own team, right? So
Before I move on really quick, I do want to point out that every single person in this call picked their own team as the top team. And I love it. I love the call.
Whoa. I picked Active Rush.
Yeah,
I just said my team's not going to lose in the second half, but that doesn't mean we're going to finish
that's
first.
saying, though, that you guys are better than everybody else.
I mean, yeah,
asking.
but we're not going to finish first unless
All right,
Active Rush just, like, mental booms.
I think Active Rush Academy is a sleeper, though, since they had to replace SSK at the start, right? So technically, Active Rush Academy has a record of 5, but they started with an 0-2.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, but yes, you're right. They're actually at a 5-2 record right now, as a unit, and actually they've also had a bunch of E-subs and stuff. So they've actually been kind of a shit show, for lack of a better word. But I definitely expect that to get better in this next week. So I think they're going to start looking very scary in the second half. Let's go ahead and move on. We don't have all the time in the world, so I'm going to ask you all to name one player in both leagues that you see as possibly being an MVP candidate, and then I'm also going to follow that up with your player that's kind of holding their team back in a way, or that their team could be a lot better if this player just picks it up a little bit. So you can flame a little bit, just keep your answers at least a little kind. Let's make it kind of quick, though. Don't go too deep into your answers. So we'll go ahead and start with Gimpy again.
God damn it. MVP, that's a tough one. I think individual skill-wise, I'm going to have to go with Nova. I don't think he's necessarily the best at the best jungler in the league, but I think he is someone who has popped off a lot, and his team has used him specifically for a lot of victories. So I think because of that, he would be like a really good candidate for MVP. And you know what? I'm gonna say on the same team, the person holding them back, Shuno. That man, he's a great guy. Love him to death. He's usually one of the least damaging people on his team, and he's in the AD carry role, which has the name carry. So you'd think he'd be carrying, but here we are. He's doing his best, but and I think they can win with him on the roster, but definitely not someone that I see being MVP.
Okay. And actually, I do want to clarify that question. You don't actually have to talk about the other league. Just go with whatever league you're in. So I think we're only gonna have one Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold MVP and a holding back player, but that's fine. Just stick with what your league you're in, because that will be the best actual, maybe unbiased. You guys are actually trying to give your MVP candidate for that league, like moving past the halfway point. Anyway, I like your answer, Gimpy. Let's go ahead and move to the Prophet.
So, overall, I'm not quite egotistical to say I should win MVP, so my vote is actually going to be for Nova as well. I feel like he's really stepped up. He's been pretty consistent in getting those early game leads, even if we do start to struggle as the game goes on. But I think his skill, like mechanical skill, is outstanding. His pathing has really been really good lately, even though he didn't have a ton of gameplay on Vi. Overall, I think he's got a great coach behind him at Jungle Main. He's really been improving a lot. And for people holding back, they really haven't been performing. Literally anyone on Midwest Express. Breakfast Time is an absolute monster, but his team is really struggling to have anyone else step up to help him.
Okay. So definitely 2 votes here for Nova if we're picking right now. So definitely interesting. It's not what I would have picked, but I mean, I definitely see him at least recently playing pretty well for you guys. So let's go ahead and move on to Amari. Let's get that Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold MVP and player that's holding their team back.
For me to choose, it's really hard. I'm choosing between either Sheer Will or Spike. Spike, basically the pillar of our team, in the way that he helps manage and set things up. I think he's also a really strong player. He can handle his own without too much attention. But I think Sheer Will is also strong in terms of game knowledge and mentality. And for a player that really needs to improve, it would probably be myself, since I do make a lot of mechanical mistakes from time to time, and I also can improve a lot like more in late.
Okay. You have to pick one. I'm going to tell you though. Instead of leaving those 2 open, I'm going to make you pick one. Especially if it's going to be on your team, I need you to flame one of them. I need you to pick your MVP.
All right, definitely Spike. Then Spike is definitely the MVP because he does the lead.
Okay, I respect that. Dying as little as possible is definitely a good trait, unlike Gimpy. Anyway, go ahead, J-Rod.
So, I think Nova has been playing well, but I have to give it to my dude Prophet, even though he inted a little bit this weekend in the last game. He was still, even with that game, was still able to output tons of damage for us, and just like, even when he got really far behind, he was still useful, which I think is probably the hardest thing in this game to do, is get put behind by an enemy team and still have the mental fortitude and the willingness to just be behind and still do everything the team needs you to do. Otherwise, he just hard carries games, usually for us, so that was nice for us to have that switch up and still win the game. The person that I would say is holding back, also my dude Shuno in the bot lane with me. I do a lot of babysitting, as I like to call it, in the bot lane with Shuno. He's actually been getting a lot better, and I think he's improving tremendously from when I first joined the team until now. Yeah.
It's interesting how everybody's picking everybody on their team.
How odd.
Let's go ahead and go to SCOM.
Alright, so for like IVSG, I know like 0 players in that league.
No, it's just your league.
So alright, so in the gold plat, I think the MVP is Breakfast Time. Anytime I watch that team play, if he doesn't 1v9, that team doesn't succeed at all. It's like he's like an S tier player, and the rest of his team are like C tier players, right? So I just feel like he has so much on his shoulders, and when they win, it's all him, and when they lose, it's like he's like 5-0, and there's nothing he can do. So, and then for the player who's holding back their team, I forget his name, but it's the 80 carry for Midwest Express too. At least when I played. What?
Hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight. So I feel like he's a player that has to step up. At least when I played against him, he's definitely like the weakest of the 80 carries I played against. And I think all forms of the game. Like laning phase, I think I was up like 50 CS at like 10 minutes. Like that should never happen. And so at least for people I've played against, I think he's definitely like someone who needs to improve their game and do it quickly coming into the second half of the season.
Okay. Yeah, I think you guys all have pretty good examples for possible MVP candidates moving forward. Maybe a little bit of bias because we all did pick somebody, or all you guys picked somebody on your teams for the most part, besides Gimpy. I got you, Gimpy. Give me 2 seconds to finish talking. So as for me, who do I think is the MVP? Myself. No, I'm just kidding. I think probably who I'd have to give the MVP to right now. That's actually really hard. I think I would give it to, honestly, Villain on my team. I do think he pumps out a ton of damage, even though he's made a couple mistakes in lane. I think outside of lane, he's by far the best AD carry in the Gold Plat League. And I think that's why our late game is going to be so hard to beat as long as we don't fall insanely far behind. So I would love to choose somebody else, but I mean, we are the number one team, so I guess it's not that biased. And then as far as somebody holding their team back, I think it's Gimpy. No, I'm just kidding. No, but actually, I would say it's probably who's Glance? Is that the mid laner for KFC?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has a lot of potential, and the reason I'm saying this is not just because he's bad. He has a lot of potential, but he's also missed games this season. He's played badly in a couple of the games I've saw that they've lost. Like, their team, when they do well, it's because he's playing well. And when he hasn't played well, their team has been kind of poop. So I would have to say it's him, because if he's not consistent, they're not going to win games. And he's definitely one of their carries when he's playing consistently. Because I've definitely played against him in games, and he's done well in lane, and there's been games where he's just kind of entered or just kind of done nothing. So that's my pick for holding back. All right, so now we're down to like the games. Let's go ahead and we're going to the next question, which is, what is your biggest surprise / upset from week 5? So the previous week games, real quick, just give me your upset or who you were surprised about the matchup or what happened last week that surprised you. So let's go ahead and start with Gimpy.
Every freaking time. All right. I'm gonna go with maybe Classic Esports versus the Amumus. I don't think the Amumus are a super strong team, but I definitely did not expect to see Classic Esports getting the W there. Some might argue that, oh, well, they also played against GG and they were in seconds and they won there. So why aren't you saying that? Well, GG, I think, had a bit of a weaker roster than they normally do. And definitely Classic Esports put in some work in that game. But I think against the Amumus, I think it was a bit of a cleaner game too. And that's what really made it so surprising. So yeah, definitely that game.
Okay. Prophet, how about you?
So overall, I'm gonna have to say, I think Nevermore overall really impressed in both their games this week. They did go 2-0 against Fight Club, obviously not one of the harder matchups in the league. And then their other matchup, I'm looking for that right now.
It was
okay.
OBL,
They got a
OBL
free win. Okay,
forfeited, yeah.
so I mean, they only played one match this week, but overall, they
Still a
are
good
a
week.
team that I do still think is on the rise. Maybe didn't have a super difficult week, but I think that overall, I was most impressed with them. Even though it was the only game in Fight Club, I thought they looked good enough, as opposed to, and I feel like they can really start to carry that, having hopefully this free week moving forward to really start to make that push for playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it still is a 2-0 week. Like, yeah, the way they got it was against probably one of the worst teams in the Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, and then also against a free win. But they have made changes, and I think they did look good in that win as well. So I don't hate the answer. Let's go ahead and go Amari.
Killer Whale Brigade definitely surprised me when they beat XL. I had a feeling since I had seen that Killer Whale Brigade was capable of winning these games. I also saw that they beat Sad Boys, taking their only loss. So I figured that it would happen one way or another. I even put in the text channel that a bold prediction that Killer Whale Brigade might beat Exile. And when I saw the Twitch clip before the game ended of the 5-man Rakan ult, I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought Killer Whale Brigade, and actually it's going to go into my pick later on, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. Let's go ahead and go into Best J-Rod.
All right, so first instincts, I would say would have been GG versus Classic Esports, but because they didn't have their mid laner, it's kind of hard to really put them up there. But I think their other game they played this week was really good too as well. They're looking like a pretty tough team considering they had a bad start, kind of like EG as well, but they had a better wins this week than we did, so I got to give it to them.
Okay, Classic Esports, maybe having the comeback, as SCOM likes to say. Let's go ahead and go to SCOM, the 80 carry for that
Don't
team.
call the comeback. So my for my upset of the week or match of the week or whatever, I'd say it's Third World Democracy over KFC, which just sounds really weird because they're both bottom tier teams, but when we played Third World Democracy in week 4, I was convinced they're the worst team in the league. They were and it was not close between them and the other 9 teams. Because we beat them by 23k in 25 minutes. And I was just that's something that doesn't happen in competitive play. And so I was super shocked to see that they played like super well. Like everyone popped off on that team in that game, and I guess that was just super shocking to me, coming from a team like that.
Yeah, I definitely think 3WD has been one of the most inconsistent. They look like hot garbage some weeks, and they look like an okay team other weeks. Definitely that game would. I mean, that result surprised me as well. That's one of the handful that this week that were upsets, in my opinion, that I definitely did not see coming. But maybe it's just teams are starting to catch up. So as far as my upset of the week, I'm actually going to say it was Active Rush Academy versus Killer Whale Brigade. Similar reasons to what Amari was saying about how Killer Whale Brigade upset EXE. It just has looked. I think they've been pretty decent all season. They've had a couple losses. Maybe they're suffering from a little bit of inconsistency. But I think it was the way that the Active Rush Academy team beat them. It was like a 23-minute game. Like it was super quick. They had a great call at the end of the game to end off just like a triple kill on the mid tower, I believe, on second tier tower, and they just like shoved for the win really quickly. And I definitely didn't expect it even watching. And I know Dota, I believe, was casting it and was pretty shocked as well. So I mean, I thought that game was a really good game, and I thought they played it super cleanly. And the fact that Killer Whale Brigade ended up beating EXE, I think shows that Killer Whale Brigade is not a team to like mess with. Like they're definitely not bad. But maybe they just suffer from a little bit of inconsistency or bad big bans. But I definitely was a little bit surprised about how cleanly that game was won. But anyway, now let's make sure. I'm going to remind you guys. Let's make it quick. Just give me who is your match of the week and why. I'm going to go ahead and start with Gimpy.
Well, I'm really looking forward to where is it? I thought I saw Sad Boys versus Active Rush Academy. I don't think they actually have played yet, so that right now is looking like it'll be interesting. It'll sort of be a good way to actually check and see if what we were saying about Active Rush Academy is right. So yeah, definitely that game.
Okay. Prophet?
So overall, I'm going to quickly insert Classic Esports plays EG off stream in week 7. Prepare to get shit on. But anyways, back to week 6. My pick for match of the week. No, dude. We're not that dumb.
Oh wow, about time someone
match
isn't.
of the week is actually going to be Guardian Gaming and KFC. I really want to see how Guardian Gaming responds to losing Shrinox have this week, and I believe he will be back for that game. So I really want to see if they do go back to just absolutely shitting on kids, or if they start to kind of struggle in his return. We start to see a fall from grace.
Okay, maybe they'll kind of give a gut check to. You said KFC, correct?
Yes.
Prophet.
Yeah.
Okay. Best J-Rod, how about you?
I have a tandem of games. Both of the EG games this week are against Midwest Express and the Amumus. A lot of people have been saying that most of our wins are against the bottom half of the standings, and I have to agree because that's where they are. So this is our first week to really prove ourselves when we go 2-0 that we are a team to contend with.
Okay. I will say that really it's only the Amumus. Midwest Express hasn't been too hot all season, but
they're ranked 3rd right now. They're tied for 3rd.
Wow.
5-4. I mean,
that's surprising. I kind of feel bad for the rest of our Plat division. Anyway, Amari, how about you?
I think it's definitely going to be for me. It would be Sad versus A. Since before at the start of the week 1, Sad Boys beat AOL, and then right after I had to join the Sed's kid message me. But I think I'm kind of scared, but at the same I don't think it will be too bad because we've done a lot of research before weeks prior.
Sorry, just to make sure everybody heard, that was Sad versus AOL, yes?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. It's all good. You're just cutting out.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be a big match. I mean, that's basically I would say Iron Breath and Silver Gold. It's probably the matchup of the week because they're both like the top 2 teams in that division, correct? Right now, at least. All right, finally, SCOM. Who you got?
So my week 6 match of the week is the Mumus versus EG. I just think Mumus is like a top 3 team that's been struggling, and EG is a bottom 3 team that's on the rise, or bottom 4 team now.
we're tied with
That's
you.
all. Oh, are you? I says okay, a bottom tier team, quote unquote, on the rise, right? So I think that match is gonna be interesting. See like how good the Mumus are, and if they can come back, and also see how good like EG actually is playing a team that isn't in the bottom of the standings, and if they can actually pick up a win against a top 3 team.
Yeah, that definitely could be a indicator of through the 3rd to 6th seed range, like see where those kind of power rankings actually lie. So as far as my matchup of the week, I'm going to have to pick. I think it's probably the AOL and Sad Boys game, just because those are the top 2 teams in that division. It's kind of the same as if it was Active Rush for GG this week, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that. It's just going to be the 2 kind of big dogs, quote unquote, of the Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold League playing against each other. So definitely excited to see who wins that. And basically, I think that will determine who gets first. I know even if one of you guys have an extra loss, I mean, I'm pretty sure it would be the head-to-head maybe. Anyway, it's going to be definitely like a big decider of the standings at the top of the Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold. So that's definitely a big game to look out for. All right, guys. Well, that's my final question. Do you guys have any final remarks before we end the podcast?
Nope. I actually got one more thing. Classic Esports Retro, your shit team. Prepare to eat shit on the responsibilities
Oh
every single
my
game.
god,
We're
Jesus.
gonna have to end it with that one. Classic Esports is
Oh
trash.
my god.
Free is $10 ever.
Wait, who said that?
All right,
Wait,
all right. So thanks for joining me, guys. It
Wait,
was really
the
great.
team that can't be
if you want to
bottom
be,
tier team said
if you
that?
want to be joining into the podcast next week, just keep an eye on the Discord. I will be posting pretty much the day of, so you gotta kind of be keeping an eye out if you want to get on the tower dive. But thanks for joining me. We'll have another episode next week, and see you guys then.
It's alright.